everyone, Andrew from PTI here with a bunch of friends. I got friends here from access control, friends here from building components and doors, and friends here from inside unit monitoring. How about you all introduce yourself before we get started?
Yeah, so I'm Brook Bland, Marketing Manager at Storage Defender. We pioneered smart units as a service for the self-storage industry in 2019, giving owners and operators peace of mind that profits.
I'm Jared. I'm the VP of Marketing at SteelBlue, and we do doors, hallway components, and also installation of those components as well throughout the country.
And I'm Steeve Reeder, PTI Security Systems. We do access controls, everything from the gate to the door. We pretty much control that entire security experience from an access control perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, so I'm going to paint you a picture. I'm a new facility, and I've just bought my land. I've cleared the land, and I have not yet built anything. At what point before I start building does it make sense to bring you in? Does it even make sense to bring any of you in before I have anything built on the ground? Jared, you want to kick us off with it?
It does. I would say as early on in the process as you can, get your vendors lined up. You know, make a decision early on. Are you going to go the smart facility route? You know, do your research on who you want to go with there. We've got some excellent recommendations for you guys. But also, you know, line up your door vendor, get your budgeting down, get these folks spec'd into the facility drawings early on. And also that way you can leverage the internal expertise at these companies as well. I mean, you know, for example, we have a sales guy named Tony Domicolo who is an absolute legend in this business and has been around, you know, 30 plus years in self-storage. He's seen and done a lot. And so, you know, when you need some help in that early stage, unit mix, materials, door sizes, you know, you're going to want that level of been there, done that as a part of your facility. So earlier the better, we would say.
Just kind of build off what Jared was saying, I 100% agree. When you start thinking about building a new self-storage facility, security has got to be top of mind. And when you start thinking about what it is that makes a facility secure, it's not any one thing. It's all of us. It's the entire ecosystem working together in harmony. So, you know, doors, access controls, unit security, that's all got to be thought through. And the earlier you can do it before you start pouring concrete, the better. That opens up a whole host of options. You know, if you want to run wired devices throughout your facility, trying to put conduit down on already poured cement, extremely expensive. If it can be avoided, absolutely.
Awesome. And Brooke, I mean, your product being wireless, you guys can probably be brought in at any stage of the building process. Yeah. But I would imagine you'd also want those operators or that facility owner to start thinking about you guys like they're saying, before any walls are built, while the big plan is being drawn up, work that into the budget. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we are flexible, so any point in the process, we can have that in-unit monitoring. Obviously, you have to have units in order to have in-unit monitoring, but once you do that, I mean, it's really simple. From the ground up, we have facilities like the My Storage Group. They actually build their own properties, and every single unit from the ground up is a smart unit, right? So they're earning that extra 12% revenue increase per unit. For each tenant, they're earning up to $250 in lifetime revenue per tenant, right? And then 9 out of 10 tenants are recommending that service to a friend. So that's just kind of one live example of people today who are adding Storage Defender from the ground up. And so I would agree with Jared, and what he said is build out your forecast, see what you plan to spend, and also take a look at what expected revenue or revenue streams you also want to bring in from that ground up to help differentiate your facility.
Awesome, makes complete sense. So on the other side of the coin, we have facilities that have been around here for 20, 30, 40 years that maybe just need a refresh, whether visually or their components are out of date, or like we've talked about a lot, the younger generations, the Gen Z, the millennials are starting to move in and they're demanding those smarter features from a facility. They want it to look nice and they want it to function off of their phone like they're used to. So with that, How do each of your company's technologies play a part in updating an existing facility compared to a new build?
Yeah, we're not a technology company, right? So I feel like your answers are going to be slightly different than us. But I mean, we have our Edge program, and so what we do offer is to rip out your old doors, replace them with new ones, and essentially enhance your curb appeal. But also, when you have fresh doors and you have new doors on your facility, that's signaling that you really care, and also trying to build trust with your tenants. The nice thing about Edge too is that you can get this done while you're operating. You don't have to shut down. Even when you think about it statistically, right? Like, it's not like everybody goes to their unit every single day. So most tenants will not even be impacted by the 2-3 days that you're spending to renovate your facility with the doors in that perspective. But yeah, that's a really good way to stay competitive and compete against the Class A facilities that are down the street. 5-mile radius is getting really competitive out there.
At PTI, we talk a lot about going from good to better to best as it relates to security. So when the industry was started out, fence, keypad, maybe a padlock, that was considered good. And that works for some operators, some facilities in some areas of the country. Those areas are becoming less and less. If you want to go from good to better, you start thinking about, hey, how can I elevate unit security and alert people when nefarious actors get on site and break into a unit? Door alarms would be an obvious choice. But then if the idea of greater automation interests you with additional notifications and security that comes along with it, you got a lot of different options outside the door with like Pro Edge, inside the door with a Storage Defender, and all of these things help elevate the security. And a lot of these things can also elevate your automation and keep your net operating income at its peak.
I would say from the storage vendor perspective, it's a great way to modernize your existing facility at a low upfront investment, right? I mean, we provide a pay-as-you-grow model. So you buy a box of 25, a box of 50 smart unit devices, put those on the ceiling or on the wall of all your units. Those tenants are instantly getting notified of any activity in their unit, and they're paying an extra $12 to $20 each month, right? So it's a great way to modernize your facility, differentiate both online and in store with marketing assets for it. And it also will pair well with any tech stack you have currently at your facility. So it's really flexible and scalable across your portfolio for whenever and wherever you want it.
Awesome. So let's now fast forward a bit. I've bought in, either my new facility is up or my existing facility is ready to be renovated and updated. I've bought into everything you guys are selling. How do I help justify those costs to the people that are investing in my business? So if it's a board of directors, if it's a big REIT, if it's a conglomerate, what have you, how do I pitch that to them that this is a need to have, not just, hey, inside monitoring would be nice, or hey, our doors already work, we don't need to put a new set, or hey, smart latches, while they're great, maybe it's too expensive and we can't justify that. How do you counter-react to that? How do you get that pitch moving forward?
I think when you're looking at someone for in-unit monitoring, I mean, people always say you can make money off of smart technology, but like, where's the proof, right? So when it comes to choosing an in-unit monitoring provider, making sure you are working with someone who is industry tested and proven. They have people to validate their claims, years of experience, of course. And you want to see actual case study results that actually show the numbers of this is what the technology, this is how long we've had it, this is the return on investment. And many of our customers are seeing increase in lifetime property value per unit of $3,000 to $4,000. And of course, that revenue share per unit, like I mentioned, and they're all seeing a return on their investment in under a year, right? So definitely something I would recommend is look at the facts, ask people, your peers, their thoughts on it, their experience with it.
Yeah, the only thing maybe I would add on would just be to commission a market study, because people at that level care about data, and that's what's going to sway their decision. So if in the data you're seeing that the local facilities all have made these upgrades, they're charging X amount, you're charging a lower amount because you can't compete. You have to compete somehow if you don't have the same amenities, so you're going to have to be cheapest. And so, if the data points to it, it makes it a really easy decision for them.
The industry is definitely changing. We look at SSA studies. They talk about the importance of convenience. They talk about the importance of security. And what's driving a lot of that is this infusion of tech into our space. We talk to dozens and dozens of owners and operators whenever we go to the show, and they're all asking the same question: is now the right time to get into the smart tech game? And so the question is not if, is when.
Yep.
For a lot of people.
It is.
And there's no great answer for that. You have to kind of answer it for yourself when you start looking how dense the population is, how many competitors you have, how much you want to automate your facility, what's your business model going to look like. These are all things that you got to answer for yourself. The one thing I will say that is true across the board is tenants are becoming more digitally savvy. And their expectations are rising. They're not going to go away. So again, it's not if, it's when.
I have one more add to that. So if you are modernizing property and say at the same time you want to do a rate increase for your tenants, right? Taking a look at that SSA demand study and seeing what they're willing to pay more for is a great strategy for that. I mean, many of our customers will pair a rate increase with in-unit monitoring, right? So you're not just paying $12 more a month. You're getting a service that you can actually see, you can use, like you get that peace of mind from it. So that's more ways to earn more money and get every bang for your buck off of that tech.
Awesome. So Brook and Steve, you both have now talked decently about tech and the growing expectations, especially in this digital world, and how a bunch of technology is flooding our industry at a really quick pace. So in 2026, we're halfway through the year now, even looking forward into 2027, my tenants are already asking for the better security. I'm looking at you guys, figuring out what you do and what you offer. What does better unit security look like for me? I'm ready to update. What do I do? Where do I go?
I would say it's about being connected and in control. Millennials and Gen Z, I've said time and time again, are a dominant force in the market. And I am a Gen Z, and so obviously I have personal perspective from that. But I've had technology every single day of my life as far as I can remember. And so, like, I had my first phone in, like, the first grade. It was a flip phone, but it was still a phone. I mean, they want that experience in their self-storage unit. Like, they have those smart home experiences at home with their Ring doorbells, Nest cams, Amazon Alexa. So the operators coming out on top right now are the ones who are transferring that tenant experience over into the storage unit. Steve?
Yeah. I think the biggest unlock for operators, no pun intended, is when you start getting that data into your ecosystem from which you can make informed decisions.
Yes.
When are you going to make that price increase? When are you going to reduce the people on site? These are all things that should be based on data, and if you've got that data, you can make some really informed decision, make yourself really, really competitive overnight. So like our smart latches feed a bunch of data points. Your storage defender, more data points. Our keypads, all of these things can be pulled in, so dynamic pricing models can be observed, additional automations can be observed, and it just makes your facility more, I guess you could say, future-proof or competitive-proof.
I would also add to that, on top of the data, tying in data from your access control providers, your property management software providers, and your in-unit monitoring all together, so you really have a full visual of tenant behavior at your facility, how long they're showing up. Do you really need staff at that time if no one is really there? So it's a good way to see an overview of your portfolio and make better decisions.
Yeah, I would agree. Combining both access data with what's going on literally inside the facility, that's the way to go forward. Jared, a little bit ago you talked about other facilities popping up near mine. How do you take that and stand out?
I think you could even go back to a very analog level of curb appeal. Fresh paint across the facility, making sure your concrete is not all cracked and beat up, and get your weeds under control and clean up your actual walk-in office area. Just make sure that you can do the little things right, so that way that attention to detail is something that the tenant can experience for themselves. And like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, it's trust and peace of mind, and that's what we're selling in this business.
I have one more add to that with regarding curb appeal. If your property is remote, it should not look like it's ran remote. It should look like someone is there physically taking care of the outside. It looks clean, it looks polished. Definitely would make sure you got that set up. Steve?
You can't understate how important aesthetics are. When you're shopping for a house, the lawn is the first thing you notice, right? When you go into the kitchen, you look at the hardware on the doors, right? These are things that just scream out quality, scream out that this property, this house is being well cared for. Self-storage isn't really any different. You're still making an investment, maybe not to the same scale, but you are entrusting them with your belongings that are worth enough money that you want to pay money to store them. So, you know, if your site says we maintain our site, we care about our site, you're probably more willing to become a tenant there.
And I would add from the online perspective, make sure you go through your competitor's online rental process. See what friction they have, what features they're offering, what features and discounts they're promoting, right? Do that all in your area and then do the same thing to your website. The amount of operators I talk to on a daily basis that have never actually gone through their online rental process is honestly surprising. So make sure you go through that, because if you don't want to fill out those 20 forms on your site, the tenant probably doesn't want to either, and that might be why you have a bounce rate. And then of course you have your 3 hanging fruits. You have your SEO, your Google business profile, and your ads. So definitely take a look at all 3 of those to help you stand out. And if you need to, work with one of the website providers in the industry that are there to help you with that.
Or Claude. Claude can help you.
So I guess what we could say is to sum that up. I think what you guys are really getting at is the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
Age-old saying, you have to look at everything from curb appeal to what the doors look like to what the rental experience is, both in person and online. With that, our industry now has been flooded with a bunch of different players, given every aspect you can think of. How do I, as an operator and owner, differentiate between what's a gimmick, what's real, and on top of that, what should I be looking for in a partner in your respective areas?
The industry took off just before COVID and then through COVID, and there were a lot of people who came into the industry during that time. The first thing I would say is look at the tenure, look at the track record of the people that you want to basically partner with or trust your business with. PTI has been around since 1979. We're backed by the largest access control solutions provider in the world. You want to make sure that that partner has got some chops. You got to make sure that they've got a long history of successful integrations. Second to that is the notion of integrations. Do they give you a small selection of people that integrate with them? Are they connected to the biggest players in the industry? If you do that, then you're essentially giving them the opportunity to design their business how they see fit, and you're not pigeonholing them into a certain set of solutions that they must use in order to use your solution. And then the third thing I would say is support. A lot of players in our industry are just now waking up to how important support is. And the reason is because self-storage has never been a tech-heavy industry, but it is now. And we are starting to wake up as an industry on after-sales support, and it's becoming critical. So I personally wouldn't invest in a company that's not willing to support me after the sale. There's just too much riding on it these days. You have some thoughts?
Yeah, I think, for a partner, on the partnership perspective, for us, what really matters is kind of what you're talking about is, servicing the customer as best you can. And I think we were talking about this earlier, actually, where, a lot of people like to pretend that things are not going to go wrong, and they don't even like to entertain the possibility that that could happen. But in the reality, I don't even care what business you're in, something goes wrong at some point in time. And who are you going to be when something goes wrong? And where are you going to be for the customer? And are you going to leave them hanging, or are you going to step up and do the right thing? And that's us at SteelBlue, that's what we definitely pride ourselves on. So self-plug on that one. And then, on the gimmick side, I just want to say, things like, for example, when I think of a gimmick, I think a bit of AI and how everyone plugs AI into everything now. And it's like, I get it. I use it all the time. I love it. But at the same time, I think it's starting to become a buzzword where you're just throwing it in there saying we're using AI, and, is it actually driving revenue? Is it helping your bottom line? Are you actually becoming more efficient through, AI is one, of these gimmicks that you can look out for. But I'm just saying there's a lot of things that maybe are just a marketing term versus something that you actually need. So just make sure that whatever you do decide to add on is actually helping your business's bottom line.
That was a good ad, Jared. I like that. From my perspective, I would say whatever tech choice you choose, whether it's Storage Defender or anyone else, of course, make sure that product will work seamlessly across your entire portfolio with whatever access control you have, whatever property management software you have, locks, etc., all the things. It needs to be transferable across all class types you have, all portfolio sizes. And then on top of that, I would say look at battery life. I mean, average tenant is renting 17 to 19 months. If you have a 2-year battery life, that means you're changing that out after pretty much every rental. So that's something you want to keep in mind and make sure you have someone who has longevity in battery life and, like Steve said, really industry proven support.
So I only have really one more question for you guys. I'm going to aim this directly at Jared, since these other two guys have been talking a lot about tech. But we could argue that in a facility, the door is one of the more important pieces. After all, if there's no door, hallway built, there is no facility, there is no monitoring, there is no access control. How does that then, how do SteelBlue work together with PTI, with Storage Defender, and what's that final picture that the tenant's seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with us kind of being the tip of the spear to some degree, if the door doesn't roll up and down properly, you're going to have problems. If the latch doesn't open as it should, you're going to have problems. If their sensor is not working, you're going to have problems. And so I think when all of our solutions are working and humming, it's a seamless experience. And with customers in any field, whenever you have some sense of tension, something not working right, that's the easiest way to drive them away, no matter what. And so really, when we work well and everything's going smoothly, that's how you really retain clients, how you retain the tenants, when the whole machine is running smoothly.
Yeah, Stephen Brooks, same question. In your head, what is a seamless tenant experience with these three companies working together?
PTI has gone through great pains to make sure that we integrate with the best companies in our space. That's the reason why we have a partnership with SteelBlue, with Storage Defender. At the end of the day, we want to be able to make sure that when a customer reaches out to a Storage Defender or reaches out to a SteelBlue and they want a Pro Edge, or they reach out to a Storage Defender with the in-unit monitoring, they want to use our access control system, that those products work together in harmony. From a SteelBlue perspective, having our latches already applied to the locks or to the doors before they ever go out the door, before they ever get on site, just makes setup easier, makes everything just work that much easier, makes the purchasing experience by the owner that much more pleasurable. All right. From a Storage Defender standpoint, having to be able to pull in their notifications, pull in their data, and be able to act on it and set up reports and notifications within SLC while still allowing Storage Defender to do its magic and notify tenants. That's the coup de grace as far as I'm concerned. So, the integrations, the partnerships that we've developed within PTI have been critical to who we are today, will be the lifeblood of who we are going to be tomorrow.
I'm going to keep it short. I think all three of our companies coming together really helps provide a ring of security and protection around each facility, and really provides that connected and control experience that I was talking about at the beginning.
Well, thank you, Brooke. I couldn't have said that better myself. And I want to thank all of you again for coming and spending some time with me today, talking through everything your companies do and how you all three work together to make that seamless tenant experience truly special, truly unique, and how we can help all these operators kind of level their facility up. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about them, you can check out the video description to learn more about PTI Security, SteelBlue, and Storage Defender. But until next time, I'm Andrew. We'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.